Hello everyone, this is Conflicts of Interest. You know what's going on. So first of all, let's take a look at the Gaza Strip. So of course we can see a lot of artillery strikes as well as airstrikes all throughout Khan Yunis as well as the south and central and north of Gaza Strip. What's most of note are the clashes that are going on in the north as well as just the entire amount of airstrikes that seem to be going on everywhere throughout here. What I really want to talk about as well is that we don't see any advances throughout here in the south or really in the north either. What I'm assuming is that they're probably focusing mostly on the advancement of the north and trying to consolidate their gains up there as well as down here. But also, I did see some footage of Israeli forces storming some areas in the West Bank, so it seems to be where they are focusing most in terms of where they're trying to consolidate and sort of put down the unrest and try and again, consolidate sort of what they're doing, not just in the Gaza Strip, but in the whole of, just this kind of conflict in terms of just Palestine, right? And there's also, clashes going on, a lot of artillery and airstrikes going on across the border. And it seems that Hezbollah seems to be just retaliating in terms of just ATGM strikes and a few, artillery strikes out here, but for the most part, it seems to be unequivocally in Israel's favor, as well as a little bit going on over here as well. Some Israeli artillery strikes out here or rocket fire into this area. So that's something else to keep an eye on in terms of what's going on in Syria, since we know that there's a little bit of hostility going on between them, but we haven't seen really anything go on more than really just this out here. So that's really the extent of the map update out here. I'm assuming again that we aren't really going to see too much in terms of today's, because in terms of the updates of how Israel moves, it seems to be one day of movement and one day of consolidation and so forth. So that's probably the extent of what we're going to see going on out there. All right, so taking a look at what's going on in the ground, what we can see here is that, of course, most of the operations that are going on in the Gaza Strip are mostly clearing operations, as we can see, buildings being cleared, also, completely leveled, as well as we can, nighttime strikes all across the Gaza Strip out here. So, uh, just in terms of what everything that's come out of this conflict as of today, that's really the extent of what we've been seeing. A lot of airstrikes, of course. So of course that's really what we were saying before, but we're also seeing some ground movement. So like I said, the Israeli troops seem to be more so consolidating the areas that they've been, considering that they haven't really had any sort of presence in the south at all, other than, from what I understand, maybe a couple raids. But from what I understand and what we've been seeing is that it seems to be they are really trying to actually push in that area as well as Khan Yunis. All right, now taking a look at Ukraine over here, we didn't have any map updates. We didn't see any movement, as well as nothing to really report on the ground, as well as no Oryx reports. So what I really wanted to talk about in terms of this conflict was that I saw this clip of Ukraine targeting some Russian assets out here, and this is I believe, obviously some artillery piece out here, some kind of howitzer, and we can see that also they target some anti-aircraft, anti-air system out here. And why I wanted to show is that in terms of this war, that it seems to be a war of material, right? Who can destroy the most amount of equipment of the other side to make make some kind of profit, right? It's a war of attrition in the real sense, right? So trying to grind down your other forces, manpower as well as equipment, until you eventually win out, right? But in terms of how much Russia has more in terms of equipment and GDP and manpower, even though Ukraine does have a lot of support from its allies, especially as of lately, it seems that that support is slowly, lessening more and more by the day. So, just in terms of this conflict, we're really going to have to take a look at really this war of attrition and how it's ending up for either side. Because, yeah, Russia is seemingly losing more equipment than Ukraine, but, the front lines aren't moving, right? So, we're just gonna have to we're gonna keep looking at this and keep talking about it as it keeps going on. Okay, now taking a look at what's going on out here in Myanmar. First of all, I wanted to say that we are seeing some more activity in terms of the junta, not just in terms of their army, but we're seeing a lot of airstrikes. And this is an airstrike in Lao Cai out here, and it's being recorded from the MNDAA, and this is one of their held positions, and we can see that seemingly they're kind of stepping up their actions out here, as well as I've seen a few other clips of them using more assets, air assets in this fight. So, we're probably going to see a bit more in terms of, pushback from the junta. The further these rebel groups get closer to, more densely populated Myanmar centers and sort of near, the south central areas. But from what I've seen is that this is mostly the extent of what we've seen in terms of, like I said, pushback by the junta. But we're probably going to see more, and we're probably going to see more advanced tech and more advanced warfare in terms of what the junta can seemingly push out, even though they don't seem to have too many allies in this area, since they kind of had I suppose, a falling out, as you could say, with China, since they aren't as favorable towards Myanmar anymore, especially as of lately. But we'll keep taking a look at this, and as if anything changes and big major map updates, I'll let you know. So you probably already heard of it, but just in case you haven't, I might as well cover it. Houthi fighters have apparently targeted some vessels out here, and they've fired some missiles at it, but were seemingly repelled. So, I just wanted to touch on it that, the conflict in Yemen is not just, in this area. And as you probably heard of, the really big sort of refugee crisis that happened out there, as well as the targeting of Israel by Houthi rebels, seemingly trying to launch a missile, thousands of kilometers away. So, it's certainly interesting that, they tried to do something like that. But, you know, uh, in terms of kind of how this conflict is developing in this area and how it's sort of spilling over into seemingly more, I guess, some people are calling it like piracy, right? Trying to take control of the ships that are passing through here, kind of taking, I guess, uh, uh, a play from the Somalian militants out there. So pirates, I guess, are better to call them. But anyways, yeah, I thought I might as well cover it. From what I understand, obviously they launched missiles, but they were repelled because there was anti-missile sort of ships out there who were sailing alongside the other ships that were moving through the Red Sea over here. So, that's all that I really had to say about this. All right, well, there's nothing else really to cover out here for the most part. Just in Israel, again, is just a lot of clashes going on everywhere, almost everywhere. The only place that doesn't seem to have anything going on is, the South out here. But, if you got any other questions or anything you got to say, just leave it down in the comments below. And of course, I'm going to be following this conflict as long as it keeps, developing and keeps going on. Since it's something that I'm not just interested in, but a lot of people seem to be interested in as well. So, like this, Ukraine and Myanmar, and as well as any other conflicts that are going on, I'm of course going to cover. So, other than that, thanks for watching, everyone.